1 second. Oh my goodness. Design. Let's get my video shown. And we are live here with our good friends in the comic industry, with our co-host, Mr. Ben Blankenship, BL Blankenship, and we have our new guest, Mr. Doug TenNapel, and our pre-guest, our good friend, and our good. I'm a fan of his, Mr. Al Nickerson.
He's back and better than ever. That's what it is.
Back and better than ever, and we want to show. We want to show a clip of his. If you don't mind, everybody, let me share this clip of his. And I think we're all going to like this clip of his. Here we go. All right, let's try to share this clip just as an opener. I apologize. We're not here to promote YouTube, but here we go. Let's watch this thing. 1 second. Apologize. No sound. 1 moment.
I was hearing some.
Oh, you were?
Okay. I heard a little bit of sound. It was coming in faintly.
Okay, let me just redo it. I apologize.
It's building.
Let's just redo it, guys. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. Let's make it louder. There we go. Very, very cool. Very cool. Appreciating that clip. So, Mr. Nickerson, tell us, what is this? What are we watching? What are we seeing? What's the new series that's coming out?
Well, first of all, did that video look choppy to you, or was it just...
It didn't look choppy on my end.
Me.
No, look.
Oh,
no,
it didn't?
All right,
fine.
Good.
No,
yeah, it was good. It was good.
All right, good. Yeah, so that is a video for Volume 2 in the Sword of Eden graphic novel series. So that is the Sword of Eden Shinobi, where our heroes travel to Japan to fight the Scarred Fist Ninja Clan. So that came out last May. So I'm working on Volume 3 now. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Mr. Our new guest here, Mr. Doug TenNapel. How are you, sir? Talk to us. Teach us your glory and your success so we can learn from it.
I'm so old. I have all the experience in the world.
Doug has put out, man, a bunch of comics. I think my first introduction to anything that he had ever put out, I don't know if it was Earthworm Jim or if it was Neverhood, but I loved both of those. Neverhood was a claymation game, and he's had Armacrog come out, Skull Monkeys, all kinds of stuff. I mean, they were just happening. He's put out several comics with Image as well. I saw something that you are involved in, like a Bone tribute book by Scholastic. Your name's in it.
I think so. I think I did a piece of art for it back in the day. Yeah, I've been in everything. I've done I do pinup art for those guys. So Bone, I'm sure I did a pinup in that one. Yeah, it's just I've done in comics. You just spray out pages in art all day. I'm sure Al can relate to that too. I actually like the style of that book. That's the first I saw the art from it. I'm a huge Scud fan.
Oh, thank you.
I was hanging out with the Scud guys back in the mid '90s when they first started that series, and so I like the white art.
Oh yeah.
What happened?
Well, I was just telling Al that I like the black and white art. I like the style of it. So,
no, yeah, thank you. Well, Yeah, I mean, I loved a lot when I started college. I really started getting to a lot of the black and white artwork, Cerebus and Nexus when it was black and white. And I remember Scud. Scud was a lot of fun.
Scud was huge. I like Cerebus a lot too. It's the phone books. I used to collect those too. So I'm a big black and white, influenced by the 80s. I have done 20 graphic novels, so I've got, and probably I think only 3 of those are digital. So most of them I have inked pages here and I'm giving them away. I don't know if you can see the background there, but I've got stacks of them back there. All my original pages. I'm doing a giant art show in Moscow, Idaho, coming up this winter, February, March, April in there. And on the last day of the show, so I'll be showing, I'm guessing about 6,000 pages of my artwork. We're just going to be putting them on the wall in a pretty amazing way. And on the last day of the show, anyone who shows up gets a free original page of their choice. It's going to have Creature Tech, Newts, Iron West, Earthboy Jacobus, Gear. Basically everything I've done is going to be in that show, and I'm giving it away to everyone.
Wow.
So, and the work is it's my best work I've ever done in my life. So
That's awesome.
I'm very proud of that. I just realized I'm not going to be able to sell it. It'd be impossible to sell like 8,000 pieces of art without driving the cost down to zero anyways. So I might as well.
Did you ever think of scanning that, making NFTs? I mean, I would do that. Please don't give them all away immediately.
No, I realized, like, in trying to,
I'll buy it for $1,000 and make an NFT on it.
Yeah.
I'm serious, bro. I'm serious. An NFT on your work. We create a page in OpenSea.
I know.
Sell it for $1. Make it like global. You're gonna have it forever online.
I'm not gonna do it. Well, how about this? The people that take them home will have to be able to do that.
They won't be able to do it. They won't be. Not everybody's tech savvy like that.
I just feel like the art exists for the story, and it'd be one thing if my work demanded the price on the open market, but the open market is manipulated and dead and stupid. I've been all around Comic-Con. I love original art. I've bought my own, original art of my own that I collect and love, but it's just a different business that I want to get into. So to make that $1,000, I'd have to put my time into being a guy that nails his original art to people. And I just want to draw, and if I'm not drawing, I'm going to do political videos on my YouTube.
I'll buy for $5,000, the whole 6,000.
That's very nice of you. No, I need.
What's the number? What's the number? Give me the number.
Do any of your franchises have a more hardcore following than the other one?
Oh yeah, definitely. Many of them do. The problem with the sales price is I actually feel like they're near priceless. They're worth so much to me that I could never get what I think they're worth. So that's what I mean by you could never afford what I think they should go for. And so instead of bitching at the world and being upset that things don't go my way, I jujitsu it. I just go, well, then you know what? I'm going to find the best fans out there and the people that really want to come to an art show that appreciates the work. And you get to go home with a piece of art. What's weird is I've done this economy before. Like I did like conventions and stuff where I'll bring stacks of original art and try and give it away. It cracks me up. Because the best artwork in the world, it's not fair, but I could not give. And some of these pages are like as good as like a Bill Watterson, which you just don't hear me throw that word around very often. But as good as a Calvin and Hobbes page, and I would have guys that were dressed like Boba Fett look at this artwork and just go, I don't want to carry it around the convention. And then they'd go across the way and they'd buy a Funko Pop and carry that around the convention. So a worthless piece of art, and they walk past one that has worth and value.
And an original, yeah.
Yeah, they're supposed to be comic fans, and they're just not. I've always had a problem kind of with the fandom is not, they can't help it that they're not educated. I used to go to San Diego Comic-Con and buy original pages from Filipino artists that were mimicking Bernie Wrightson. They were doing like EC type horror comics. They were as good as Bernie Wrightson, and they were selling the pages for $5 a piece.
Man.
And they had stacks of them, and they couldn't get rid of them. I'd go with $15 and just buy 3 every year. And I mean, they were as good as Bernie Wrightson inks, just amazing. And you just go, you see some suck artist that's just doing kind of, punk graffiti or whatever, and it's going for $5,000. And I just go, I'm not here to make things fair. I'm kind of done. The comic market, I think, is absolutely absurd. Truly ignorant. Terrible. It's a terrible economy. And now, what's going to be great about it is these days, the economy and the market is so destroyed. You actually have to love comics to make them. And I think that's kind of where it all started, is loving cartooning. Harriman didn't learn to draw a crazy cat in Ignat's Mouse because he was trying to sell out and be like everybody else. He ended up creating one of the greatest comics ever made.
Right. But I think my assessment is a little bit different because we have in our company, Daniel Baldwin is our head of iShook Productions with film.
Yeah.
So the way one of the reasons why we're doing the comics in general, creating ideas with comics, because it's very hard to pitch a production of a movie, but just speaking it.
That's right.
Right. So there's either 2 ways you're going to get that movie created. And that's number 1, either writing a book, getting your following over the book, or a comic.
Right.
So it's not necessarily you're putting the comic and you're not going to make this huge amount of sales in the comic. The idea is that if that comic is good enough, it can become a movie. Especially Netflix, Amazon, they're going crazy with anime and comic production, with animation and all that stuff. By the way, we're welcoming Mike Barron. Mr. Barron, thank you for joining us again, my friend. We appreciate you. And we're here, to obviously learn from everybody here. And, by the way, I did
Mike Barron, I know him.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug.
How you doing, buddy? So that model, though, what you said is that's how I made my living. Really, was I never really made the money off the comics. I sold the intellectual property rights into Hollywood, and no one has a higher sell-through rate than my books. I've sold over 50% of them into Hollywood.
Wow.
So Creature Tech, $250,000, Tommy Source Rex, $1 million. Gear became Cat Scratch. I sold Monster Zoo to Sam Raimi. I sold Ghostopolis to Disney. So I've sold just tons of my books into Hollywood. They never got paid.
Who has Neverhood and Earthworm Jim?
Neverhood, it never sold, but the company sold because DreamWorks Interactive sold it. Electronic Arts.
Yeah.
So Electronic Arts, the stuff that we got paid by Disney to do was inherited by, Disney, DreamWorks to do, ended up getting purchased by Electronic Arts. So it's trapped back there. They'll never sell it, and they'll never do anything with it.
Do you know that they have like one of those PlayStation things? Or they brought Radio Shack back. They got one of those PlayStation things, and they have the Skull Monkeys game on it.
Oh, I didn't know that. With the bulk.
Yeah, it's one of those bulk things, and they're like, it's got 5,000 games, and I'm like, yeah. Well, does it have this on it? Well, does it have this? No Neverhood. Yes, Skull Monkeys.
Yeah.
By the way, I can't believe you made Earthworm Jim. I played that game when I was a kid in Sega Genesis.
Games.
Well, yeah, obviously I didn't play all of them. I played the original one. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Very impressive. Very impressive. I'm excited that you're on iShook Comics. We didn't know that we have so many legends in the comic industry. We have 3 guys right here in the comic industry that are awesome. Unbelievable. I love it.
Now, you were saying that you liked black and white stuff, and there's so much emphasis in comics a lot on color, but that's what manga is black and white. I love black and white. Spy versus Spy, BC, Johnny Hart, those are like up there at my top favorite. They're fun. You can just read through strip after strip after strip, and they'll come together in like books packaged. I think it's great. I like the way the old like Vampirella and Creepy and all that looks too. I just think that that's neat. And before color, it didn't matter. They're cheaper to print too.
Yeah, it was always a cost thing, and then it turns into a strength, because if you know how to do black and white, you don't need color. I only did color because the audience started responding to it more, but I never wanted to color any of my work.
Right. So I'm going to throw you guys all a question. This is a question I want to know, and I think people in the industry might want to learn from you guys. What is the price, retail price, for a graphic novel?
How many pages?
Let's say 48 pages. Okay, I'm just throwing it out there.
And you're saying full color?
Full color. What is the retail price that you've known and learned that that's the price that everybody will buy it and not complain? I mean, people complain all the time, right? But like, what will be that price number? What's the price? What do you think?
We don't sell in comic book stores. We crowdfund our books, and we charge $25. We charged $25 for Nexus Scourge. It was 48 pages. It did very well. All my other graphic novels are at least 72 pages, and we charge $25 for those too.
Wow. And that's all through through the Kickstarter and the fundraising, right?
Yes.
So like, you don't do print on demand or KDP or none of that. Wow. Wow. So that changes the industry a lot, no?
It works. If it works, it works, and so far it's worked for me, although I have yet to break into six figures. And that's my goal is we're trying to get up there, and I'm building my reputation. One of the problems is that I'm so old that nobody knows who I am. So I don't have the huge following that a lot of my friends do.
So how do we get you back in the game and make you hip? How do we make it like you guys? Listen, I've been doing my life, right? And what I've done is amplify people. I know how to amplify very well. I know how to get you out there. It might be small numbers.
iShook, how do I hook up with you? Are you on X?
Yes, I'm on
Yeah,
X. I'm all over. I'm all over.
LinkedIn,
Are you on X as iShook?
iShook, yeah. iShook.
It's iShook CO.
Yeah, cohort or company, whatever way you want to look at it.
Okay, I see you.
Yeah.
All right, I'm following you now.
Appreciate it. I'll follow you back. I think I did follow you already, if I'm not mistaken. Let me try. I mean, I'm not always on X. I'm all over social media.
Not yet.
Are your all's answers the same?
No, I am on X, but I'm not always
funding for the graphic novel thing, or what do you think for 48 pages full color graphic novel?
I can't believe I lost 4,000 subscribers, followers on X.
What? How come?
Yeah, I have no idea. It's like, it depends on what I say. Like, I had a whole thing against Dan Bilzerian, so I think a lot of people unfollowed me. He says a lot of stupid things, that guy. Whatever. It is what it is.
Bunch of pansies. It's the whole block movement and whole tantrum thing. Like, people should care who they follow. I follow you, by the way, on X. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow you back. Here we go. There we go. Yeah. So
So I'll agree with Mike Barron on crowdfunding. Just the genre is it's $20 on crowdfunding, just because that's what it is. And crowdfunding is different in that you're building, you're paying a creator to make a thing. It's not, you're not going to a store and buying a comic. Store comics, I'm going to say, 12 to 15 bucks should be retail on that. Maybe
wow.
I would say $12. Yeah. Now,
wow.
And I've done, and again, it goes by bulk. So your average comic store, Image or something is doing, say, a 5,000 print run. So that book's going to be $12, maybe 11. Scholastic, when I did books through them, their first print run on my books were 50,000 copies.
Wow.
So we were doing 208, 250 page books for $12.
Wow.
So it's about scale and bulk, and it's partially why I stopped doing so many comics and aiming for comic stores. Something Billy Tucci taught me a long time ago is, he did that nativity book, Christmas story book, and he sold it in Christian bookstores instead of comic book stores. And he said, Doug, he goes, we got like double the sales because there's twice as many Christian bookstores as there were comic book stores.
Wow. I think ultimately you guys have to take it a little bit different. We have so much AI technology now that you can compete strongly on SEO marketing, like discoverability. I think personally, between you and I think like everybody wants to get involved in comic stories. Like my opinion, like people love look at the Marvel, look at the movies that are coming out, how much they're getting behind it. Even though now there's a lot of, and you also see there's a lot of drop sale because they're screwing up the whole storyline, right? So there's a drop sale, drop viewership. So you see there the following is strong, and if we give them back potentially good product out there, then I think it'll be a lot more successful. Now, the other thing I have an idea is, and you tell me guys if you think about it in your expertise. So we have our comic called Super Black, right? We're promoting Super Black. It's a good comic, but I don't want it just to be a Super Black comic. I want it to be what is it called?
Multi-platformed.
Multi-platform, but across, like we're going into other comics as well, and we get other comics characters to come on ours. So we do like a cross universe kind of thing. You know what I mean? Do a cross universe kind of thing. So that's the way I think is the reality of how we should get comics to work. And I did this many years ago. We call it collaborative social media. So if we do collaborative comic books, you're gonna have collaborative IPs working with each other, and I'm sure we can make enough deals happening to make money. I mean, obviously, money is important because I said to one of my friends, because I run a congregation, so I said to my congregation, I'm like, money makes everything happen, but money isn't everything. So it's there and it's not there. It's needed, but it's not needed. So that's what I feel is that we can do. So what do you think about that idea, which is cross? Because we're not going to get Disney and their IPs to work with us. It's going to cost us crazy amount of money. But if we get enough people to work with us and kind of do a cross collab and cross universe kind of thing, I think we can make a lot of success stories on that way. I mean, that's just an idea that just came up by talking to you guys.
Well, I want to point out a couple of things because Doug was talking about Scholastic, and they have a great distribution system. The comic book direct market is not doing so well right now, but Scholastic is great. Their distribution system is great. They're selling their books, and that's fantastic. When you're talking about intercompany crossovers and working together, are you talking about like different creators and different ownership of IPs?
No, like for example, I'm talking about like this. Let's say we have a Super Black comic, okay? So Super Black comic, let's say, has now 100,000 followers, okay? And then another comic has 10,000 followers, right? They do this in the podcasting industry, by the way. When a person is a podcaster, he will get another podcaster to gain their viewership as well. So what you're doing is you have 100,000, you have this comic that you have 100,000 followers. You say, okay, listen, get your character to guest star in our comic. And then you have this, and then you have a crossover, which now you have a double way of marketing, and you're able to overcome the social media noise. And now people can discover your stories. I think that's an idea that we really have to think. We have to think about it as like a TV show and a movie. If you think of comics like a TV show and a movie, and you're popping out every quarter a comic and an issue, and that's what we're trying to do. We're going to pop out. Our goal is to pop out at least 1 to 2 issues every quarter in Super Black. We don't want to hesitate and wait for the numbers to come. We want to get that traction in social media, right? Eventually, the money's going to come, and it can come out big. You'll be surprised how it can work. And that's the idea that I was referring to, more or less. Hope I explained it better, no?
No, I understand what you're saying because I've done team up books with other creators with our different creator-owned work, and it's usually very fine and fun, but it doesn't always end well, because there's, you could have certain different disagreements about the property and that sort of stuff.
It never ends well.
Contract. Well, I was trying to be nice. So, yeah, I mean, I've worked with other creators, and it's usually a lot of fun, but like Doug was saying and what I was saying, it doesn't always end well. So some years ago, I was working with somebody, Brandon Carr. He had a web comic called The Kenmore, and we did a crossover together, and we had a nice, simple contract. And it just said he owned his stuff, I owned my stuff, and we both could print this crossover whenever we wanted without the other person's permission, and no money is necessarily have to change hands. And it was a nice, simple contract. And that actually worked out great. I worked with Joe Staten. We had a crossover with E-Man and my character Nemishman. I did stuff with other creators. But yeah, like Doug was saying, it doesn't always end well. And then the stuff, you can't print it. Like if you have a falling out with that creator, like, well, then the work goes out of print and you can't use it.
Well, what I would do is a different type of contract altogether. I would say, what's your IP license? How much you want for it? We get to print this issue always. This is your royalties. Tell us your guidelines, how to use the character. And that's it. There's nothing else to talk about. I mean, that's the best way you're going to get it. We're giving you literally everything you want just to have that crossover. And then you get the social media influence of what we have per se. And then you get your product also promoted because this character comes from your comic. So if you have a big powerhouse of a social media, like we're going to go full force in Super Black. That's not even a question. We're already getting 2 celebrities. We already have Daniel Baldwin. He's playing Leviathan as one of our characters. We're probably going to get another 2 or 3, but not real celebrities, meaning podcast celebrities. And we're working on that very strongly because the podcast industry is going to be the next level of media. Forget TV, forget movies. Podcasters are what's going to be changing the world. I mean, you see that with Trump. You see it. I mean, whether you like it or not, I mean, whoever likes it or not, like Trump going on these 4 or 5 major podcasts made him win the presidency. He broke it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, the Joe Rogan interview. I mean, I didn't watch it, but
that was huge. That was huge. YouTube tried to suppress it. There was like the biggest thing that happened in Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan did not say to Kamala Harris not to come. He said actually come. They were trying to say no, you got to come to him. Right. You gotta go to her. Leave his Texas. It just didn't make sense for him. I mean, the reality, and I think the next round it might go Democratic again because they might wake up and say, okay, let's get to these podcasts too. They're not gonna do it. No. You don't think so? They're not gonna do it.
They might try, but it's not.
No, they're all.
They're going to be in the wilderness a bit.
No.
Yeah, so they might lose again. I don't know.
Bit,
Well, I would like to hear what Doug and Mike have to say about this
sure,
idea and what they think if that's a.
And he sounds like he's talking like what George Lucas was actually promised, but going through on it to where it's like what your character is, that the continuity would be there.
Well, I would be interested in crossing over with any compatible character. And Nexus has crossed over with a lot of different characters. We did a Nexus Magnus team up for Valiant. We did a Nexus Madman team up. Wow. Nexus met Sherlock Holmes in our last series for Dark Horse. But I would love to get something going with some other popular characters, especially those with a science fiction bent.
And what did the agreement look like on those, Mike Barron? How did you carve out and keep Nexus? It was assumed it was completely separate. It was a guest issue. They were going to split the profits on the issue itself, but there was no actual IP argument, right, or share or anything.
Are you talking about the split between Dude and me?
Yeah. I mean,
well, you want to know the
truth?
truth?
It all goes bad. Like Kirkman on Walking Dead, it's like either the artist gets screwed or the writer gets screwed. Someone gets screwed when they split those rights, Have
you ever met Steve Rude?
Yeah.
No.
Have you seen the documentary Rude Dude?
No.
I saw that, yeah.
If you see that, it'll give you a lot of insight. But the truth is, 15 years ago, he wrote me and said, "You don't know how to write. I'm taking over the strip." Mm-hmm. And now you can see the result for yourself if you've seen any of his recent Nexus.
Yeah, I see it with intellectual property. Really should stick with one owner. When it gets split up across multiples, there's a problem.
Well, we co-created it. I mean, it was all my idea, even the costume design, but it wouldn't have succeeded without his spectacular art. And for 25 years, he followed my scripts faithfully and loved them and raved about them.
Yeah.
But just to give you some insight.
I just want to use you, though, as Exhibit A.
Yeah, he's been thrown into jail 3 times for mouthing off to cops.
Yeah.
At one time, he was sent to an insane asylum for 48 hours for observation.
Oh, comic
And
book
now I don't want to go into any more detail, except I recommend watching the documentary Rude Dude.
I'm gonna have to watch that documentary. So
Yeah, I saw it because I am a fan of Nexus, and I really do enjoy Steve Root's artwork. And I did watch that documentary, and I didn't know any of that stuff prior to watching the documentary. Yeah, and it broke my heart. It was really sad.
It doesn't. I don't think it works. Benny, it's like oftentimes the pie is so small to split in the first place that then you're going to split it halfway.
Well, Doug, if we ever meet in person, I'll tell you more about it, but I don't want to go into detail here. I let Nexus go too long before taking up the mantle again. First with Richard Bonk, who did a fine job, but then with Kelsey Shannon, who did a brilliant job. And that book he did, Scourge, has been very well received, and it did very well. And we would have had a lot of momentum if Kelsey had stuck around and finished the trilogy he started for me.
Kelsey?
But Kelsey disappeared 2 years ago. We haven't heard from him in 2 years. And so I have turned to other artists. I have two other artists working on Nexus projects. They are both world-class, very famous.
Another example, though, Kelsey Shannon is one of the best artists I've ever known. And he worked on my book, Coloring Bigfoot Bill. And halfway through the coloring, he vanished. And I called the guy, a mutual friend. I just go, what's with King? Everyone knows Kelsey just vanishes.
2 years now. 2 years. Yeah. And he's slitting both our throats because the next one would have done a lot better. Yeah. And I just don't understand it. You know, I don't communicate with him. There's no point. But I'm working now with a world-class artist. I wish I could tell you who. You would all know who it is. And he's working on a new Nexus book, and we're very excited about that. But that won't be available for at least a year.
Wow.
And in the meantime, we have a lot of books to manage. I mean, Pat Broderick is finishing up. Well, he's not finishing up. I would say he's about 1/3 of the way through Bronze Star 2. You know, maybe that's over optimistic. Awesome. It's we hope that Pat will finish Bronze Star 2 by the spring, and it looks spectacular.
How many pages are we talking, roughly estimate?
96 pages.
Okay.
Wow.
That's awesome. So what do you all think of anthologies? Because I mean, I know like Boom does it with like Hello Darkness. I don't know if all anthologies are like horror or whatnot. I know that when I've written like literature, I put out several anthologies. It's almost like a good advertisement. It doesn't take a lot just to write, you know, a short story or whatever. You do it in like a week. But you'll have like 13 artists or whatever. And so you'll kind of get people in a net because they'll come in for this writer, that writer, the other writer, then they'll discover others because it's kind of like, you know, they're tasting.
Well, I'm happy to accept an assignment. I'm not going to launch my own though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work because I've worked with several different publishers, like on 3 or 4 different anthologies, and it's a lot of fun, but do they even sell very well?
That's what I wondered in comics, because they do in literature. They do quite well because you'll pull somebody in because you'll have several writers and it'll be like, oh, I know them. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to buy it. So that's how you get it. I think with Boom, what they do, they at least have like 1 or 2 anchor people in there. They had Something's Killing the Children. Tinian, is that right? Yeah, in there because that would pull people in, and of course it's a short story that relates to that.
Well, I think the Rocketeer anthology that Image put out did very well.
Yeah.
Because that's an iconic character.
Yeah.
If you get an iconic character, it's going to draw people in.
Yeah, Batman Black and White. I mean, it depends on the anthology, it depends on the character. I was in the Flight ones with Kazu Kibuishi used to put together with all those guys. In Flight was one of the anthologies. I did the 9/11 one that Image, I think it was Image, put that one out after 9/11, and that had everybody in it. I don't know how well it sold or not. I just think, the comics market is so small. It's very hard to stick out that I think you want to create a very iconic character create one iconic book. You're trying to make a Hellboy, or you're trying to make, Madman or Nexus, something that in and of itself markets itself. And if the story and art's good, then that's your best shot that you have. And it just always amazed me how that audience, the comic reading audience, I just think it's gone, and it's not. I don't think it's coming back in bulk. The bulk.
Well, I agree with you, but what I mean is that the corporate side of comics, of American comics, is circling the drain, and there's so many reasons for it. And one of the biggest reasons that's never discussed is we have a whole generation of kids here who simply do not read. They were raised on video games, and frankly, I can't argue with them, because your average video game is or used to be a lot more entertaining than your average $5 corporate comic. And then,
Interesting you're saying that, by the way. I don't know if you played any games like what was the most famous one? Not Ragnarok. No. What was it called again? It was
Call of
like a
Duty,
newly or
Grand
old?
Theft Auto.
no, it was the one with the gods.
God of War.
God of War. Thank you.
No,
Wow.
I've
Slipped my
never
tongue.
played a video game in my life, but I've watched
Right.
my friends play video games.
Right. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is these video games offer internal comics to download within their game.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that's been a trend already for 10 years, I believe, at least, where PS5 and PS4, you're able, for sure now PS5, like God of War, you can download its own comic. And you have app stores that are also creating comics within the video game. So listen, I think the best, the ability for, and I'll throw it out there for you guys, right? The ability for your IPs to become video games is very easy today because of Roblox. You don't need to be a PS5 game. You can just create a Roblox game of your comic, and you'll have new generation of kids and kind of push them to read these comics. I mean, that's our goal with Superblock, is to do a Roblox game, then eventually a PS5 game or PS6 whenever that comes out, right? Like that's our goal. I mean, we're not just looking as the IP as a comic. The comic, it just helps us get our message out there and show people this is our story. This is our vision. It's harder to sell the vision when it's just talk.
Yeah, they're great for previs and for ideaing. I just think they, as its own standalone business, that was kind of what bugged me about comics. I kept wanting the comics to be the source of the income and the source of the entertainment. And so many times the comics, even my own, were in service of something else. It's like, okay, it's great that you have a comic, but now we really got to make a series out of it for it to be
right
something. And I go, well, why can't I go for the book sales? Because I always wanted it to be more like a Hellboy, or Bone, even where the book sales were primary. And that wasn't my stuff was probably a little too off center for that.
Right.
You have to get right up the middle to hit that maximum sized comic audience to have a shot at it. And my stuff was always more esoteric, more like the black and white 80s Dark Horse stuff is more what I was aiming for. Early Image. Not early Image, Rob Liefeld Image. I really should just stick to Dark Horse and the early 90s indies.
Right. I mean, but you realize that the Statista report shows here in 2022, comics has risen to $2.1 billion sales in the U.S. alone. I know it's a small market, right, compared to other book markets, but that's a big market.
It is, and a lot of it's manga. I mean, Japan they have phone books of just years and years of great.
So has any of your, I'm sorry for cutting you off, has any of your products been made into manga, into Japanese, culture?
It's weird. I've been to Japan 5 times since '98, and I brought my video games over there. And the first thing I did was I was talking to book publishers, and I released a children's book over there. I was going, I've got a ton of comics that we could bring back over here. And the U.S. style never picked up that big in Japan. It went the other way. Japanese comics came over here.
Wow.
And ours didn't go so big over there. And a lot of it really was that in America anyways, our output just couldn't match their output. So if you create a comic reader, you're creating a voracious, and someone who wants to read the way kids read, like, 9 Harry Potter novels. They don't want to get 48 pages a year, So I did 200 pages a year of wrote and drew for 20 years. And I just started going, I'm tired of trying to sell into the American market,
Wow.
When really what we watched was a guy with a podcast or a YouTube channel mopped the floor with the business, because in the end, what was being sold was a YouTube channel is a bigger trend than comics. Or what I made on NFTs. I did NFTs, my Doug TenNapel Eternal Clays. I'd make like 700 grand, in a couple months. And for how much more work comic was and how much bigger of a risk it was. And I just go, I'm not going to be able to sell these comics unless I get on a YouTube channel. And that's not honoring what's great about art and story. The real product you have to make is social media reach. And by the way, then you can sell a comic. You can also choose to sell a mascara line, and it'll sell just as well. It has nothing to do with the comic or the mascara.
It's right, because now it's the channel. It's your channel that's the power now.
That's right. Everything else is
and I think so.
It's merchandise. It's a happy.
What about in France? Because there's these European artists that I talked to. This one Italian guy's working on one of my comics. He does a fantastic job. It looks really pulpy noir. And a lot of them work for like France, Belgium, because in the US and Japan and France, Belgium, that's where you get big comics. What is the market like there?
France is huge. If you go to that Stuart Eng book, I pick up all those hardbound French, beautiful works. They're very influential on me. That's a real legit market. That market is not here. Self-sustaining for the story and art. I mean, there's hits, here. There's always going to be Batman. There's always going to be Hellboy, now. That's why I always look at like Hellboy and Bone are bigger influences on me. And some of the stuff that came out of Image, the original stuff that came out of there was always more interesting to me, because that's more like what we're trying to do, where you're going, this character doesn't exist. I'm going to tell a new story and see if it takes off. It's very rare to launch a brand new thing. And when you see one take off, you go, something's happening there. That's not living off the legacy of Thor, let's say, or living off the legacy of Batman, which is where most of those sales are for American comics. The American half are legacy characters and aren't new. The only thing new that you'll find might come out of the kids' graphic novel world, which Kazu Kibuishi did with Amulet. You'll see some of those titles come out of Scholastic and Abrams books, and those longer form books. They're not coming out of Marvel, DC.
Well, see that's the thing. Like, we need to reach that audience. So the kids that are reading the Scholastic books, the kids that are reading manga, are they coming into comic book stores and reading books?
Well, the comic book stores they've started stocking manga to sell books. That's their only chance at making it, because those kids are not buying Spider-Man unless it's tied to the movie.
They aren't corporate-owned material.
What about that?
Our system paid into that corporate comic industry in the 2000s, right? That's when Comic-Con blew up to astronomical proportions. It became its own thing. Well, if you pay into just that corporate thing, then that's all the kids, that's all anyone knows to buy is the corporate thing. And which is great if you're a corporation, and really bad if you're an indie guy here to tell a story, and you're an indie guy coming up and making it. Now there's still you have to still reach out online through webcomic, podcast, which I think Benny already said, webcast, podcast, NFT, some other form of marketing and delivery that you cannot rely on a comic book store. So Indiegogo, yes. Kickstarter, yes. Like anything else, even Amazon print on demand, anything but just, they don't putting it up on the store. That's 1991, guys. That's not today.
What about Cam in America?
Right.
Because is that not doing well, like on the crowdfunding, and it's over in Japan now and everything?
It's doing, that's a very good, it's also a very good book, it's a good, and it's very much in the manga style. So it's
Totally.
one for one interchangeable with a manga book. Like you really, if you looked at it, you just go, oh, that's manga.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say, like, I agree with what Doug is saying. You got to do all these things. You have to be on Amazon. You got to sell directly to your audience. And working with stores directly, has been very helpful for me. But the direct market, it breaks my heart because these retailers are going out of business. I don't think these distributors care about stores anymore. And these retailers, they have to pivot. They have to not only sell the new comic books, they're selling toys and the Funko Pops and trading cards and all that stuff. So if they have to do that to survive, then that's fine. But they can't rely on Marvel and DC to save their stores because that's
and
not
they're
going
not
to happen.
selling Funko Pops and toys to kids and readers. They're selling them to adult toy collectors.
Right.
So that's a different market.
I think the other mistake that the store, I used to work in a bookstore, but the biggest mistake the bookstores had is they never paid their vendors on time. There was always a 60 to 90 to sometimes even 120-day delay of payment. And right now, even Amazon is doing the 60-day payment on their KDPs right now. I mean, we have books in KDP that it takes 60 days just to give, small chunks of money. I mean, can you imagine if you're making $100,000 sale, $200,000 sale, and they're holding it for you for 60 days? Like you need the money now, and they're holding it for 60 days. It's not like it's a startup company; it's a multi-trillion-dollar company that they can't even pay those payouts on time. So I think what's happening, the reason why the bookstores are going down out of business, because they haven't paid on time their vendors, their comic people. I mean, that's my assessment and why they're losing the game. But there is a huge Barnes and Noble's revitalization. If you know, I predicted 10 years ago Barnes and Noble's will close huge amount of stores, close to bankruptcy, and now they just renewed everything and they're building a 60 new store revitalization, throughout the
That's
country.
good news.
Yeah, this new CEO has done something unbelievable. They just may open a new store, Barnes and Noble store in the city, like a brand new, like flagship kind of store. Like you can look at it, just Google that. Like they got 60 stores ready to go in the country this year alone. And that's unbelievable how he was able to revitalize. Because now what they're doing is they're making it more social. Come with the book reading. Let's get the celebrity. If the comic book stores would invite all the illustrators, all the artists, say, listen, let's make this more of an experience.
Some do.
We wouldn't be where we are today in the
Some
comic
do.
industry.
I've been
They'll
at
be
places.
higher.
I've been at places, and they vary where you're, depending on where you're at. If you're in LA, it's different than if you're in East Tennessee.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
East Tennessee is a local creator. There are some people that will show up, not like throngs, but there are people that will show up because they want to support a local creator. And then there's other places to where, unless you're Jim Lee or somebody, you're not going to get a crowd.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Barnes and Nobles and most of these celebrities from Fox News and all the other celebrities from all over the spectrum, they're doing these book tours, right? And they were doing the readings and they're actually meeting people. So of course you're going to pay an extra $20, $30 for a book to take a selfie with that celebrity or that book writer that you love.
Yeah, I don't charge for autographs.
And you think they wouldn't do that for comic illustrators and comic creators? Of course they would.
What do you think
but we're not doing
about readers getting everything for free? I mean,
I think you should never give anything for free. My opinion.
Actually. So when there's a few
That's
things.
my opinion.
There's a few things now. When you go to a comic book store, for every comic that DC sells, these are what the comic book store people have told me. Marvel sells one thing. So I went into a shop. I bought 8 comics. They gave me this for free. Marvel does a number of things. They'll put out a free book. Of course, their art looks fantastic and all kinds of stuff. If you're going to pre-order books, because they have a ton of variant covers, that's the way they make a bunch of money. They've got like 7 variant covers on something. If you go onto previews.com, you can look ahead right now on Uncanny X-Men, and you can see all the way up to what number 11's covers are going to be like. You can't even find what the next 2 Absolute Batman all the variants are going to be. It's just like a thing where they've not filled it in yet. And you want to know, if you're wanting the cover that looks a certain way, you want to know so you can go ahead and so you can lock in on that. So Marvel's on top of that, and DC's not, for whatever reason. I do not know, but I do know that Marvel goes ahead and they give you these gateway drug books. Like right here, Red Hulk is in it. Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider, Daredevil. If you're not familiar with any of those characters, whatever, you've not been following them, they give you a taste of it and say, maybe you would like this too. And they give that to somebody that's going in buying enough comics to say maybe they might be a potential buyer. So, you know, that's neat. I will read through it and look through it. But, you know, I write, read and write and cover Gail Simone's Uncanny X-Men. She's doing a nice job. Absolute Batman, Scott's doing a good job with that, and then the others aren't Marvel or DC. They're like whatever. I got several of the Fire and Ice ones because I like Frazetta, and it's like an homage to his stuff. It's a prequel.
Yeah, I went to Comic-Con this year in San Diego, and there was one of the original animators on Fire and Ice was selling his original artwork from the actual movie. And each page was going, it was like $17. It was like the best anatomy drawing you've ever seen in your life.
That's insane.
I'm telling you guys, I look at the market and I just go, it's gone. It's just gone.
That movie was amazing.
So I have an idea, guys. I have an idea that we're going to be doing in Super Black, and you guys can adopt my idea. All right. So there's a company called Mixum.com that they can do high-end staple bound comics, right? You can do like 80-point color matte. We're doing that kind of finish with Super Black. It's actually cheaper than KDP, the print per unit. And what we're going to be doing is putting 5 tickets between $100 to $1,000 within the 500 randomly. Anyone who purchases it, limited edition, can win $1,000. Just buy the comic. Let's see what happens. I want to see if that works.
I just think when you're trying to build a comic, the best thing you could do is dump it out for free online. That's my opinion on it.
Well, you could do it right now, KDP. You can do it with their points. They have a KDP online. That's what we do. Right, I did that right now. It's online for free. You can look at it. You use your points with KDP. Then Amazon gives you money for each page read. Right? They give you a couple of cents. And I think that's what everyone should be doing when they put out their comics. Like put that on the KDP Kindle, where you can read these comics for free. They give you points. They give you like what, 20 cents per page, or like you get good numbers.
And that's the market. That's the true market. That's where the marketplace is, I should say. You know, the people pushing their wares. It's going to be on a KDP. It's going to be on Webtoons or web comics, some kind of a web comic thing. That's where because you can print them. You'll sell 500. Fine, hooray! You could put it online. And you get like 100,000 people reading that thing.
No doubt.
And now you're starting to build a critical mass of interest and marketing your thing. We have this rule: you don't try and monetize an audience you're trying to build.
Correct.
Now with what Doug said, like when I was a kid, I forget, maybe like 12 or whatever, I was going through a store and I was handed issue 0 of the Treasure Trolls. You never remember the trolls with the hair sticking straight in there? Because that's what they were trying to like push. So they give you an issue 0. So it's a prequel to number 1, and it just kind of sets you up for it. Or, you have like a 10-page thing or
that
whatnot.
Murder Falcon issue 0 is one of the best black and white comics I ever bought. By Lee Warren, whatever his name is, who did, Murder Falcon. It's
free comic book day. They had the Johnny Quest and all that. Dynamite. Free comic book day.
Black and white freebies are where it's at, man.
So why does it take a year to make a comic? I mean, is there a reason why? Is it
not necessarily? If you got a fast artist like Richard Bonk, I mean, Richard is amazing. He can pencil and ink a page a day, and that's why we've done so much work with him. I mean, he's turning out 4 graphic novels a year.
Yeah.
Wow,
that's how you do it.
But those guys are rare. You can have it fast or you can have it good. Very few are fast and good, and that's Richard. He did that Sherlock Holmes book that we're hawking right now. If you look at the art, it's just spectacular.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Any closing remarks? Anyone got any closing remarks? I think we've been an hour already.
You need
Well,
to
is
plug
anybody
everybody.
watching this?
Yeah, we got 9 live people watching it.
I wonder why there were no comments.
It's on so many different things too. It's
Yeah,
spread out.
listen, we're building when we go live, we're literally live in X, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, now TikTok as well. Let me see if the TikTok is on. Yeah, TikTok is on. And it takes time. Listen, you got to do this in the world of podcasting. You got to do this multiple times.
I understand.
Yeah, once you do this multiple times, this can go literally in a year or two. It can be like 1,000 views in an instant, and
Yeah,
we're pushing it.
Sign me up, Benny.
With what?
No, I need it. I'm old school. I can
I'll-
barely
I'll-
operate this computer.
But before you came on, it took me like 15 minutes to get my microphone to work on this show.
Listen, let's do a collab where I can resell your products on my
I'd love to.
iShookcomics.com site. We're putting AI on it to get SEO marketed.
right.
We'll do all that stuff. Let Ben connect me with. Actually, you
I-
have the X already. Just send me. We'll connect with email and everything. And
How
phone.
do I? Oh, well, you know what? You friended me, so you can just send me your email address
I'll
on
do
my
that, yeah.
X page.
I'll do that. I'll do that by tonight. I'll do it quickly right now.
Groovy, baby.
Yeah, awesome. I want to get this moving already. I mean, I think in reality, a lot of the stories you guys make, I think are strong, and I think you got to just reintroduce it because the younger generation, forget the generations that we're seeing now. We're talking about the newer generations that are going to be, born and come into society. Right now, there's already a huge movement of pulling back usage of cell phones, by the way, amongst many families. There's many studies that proven that it's very dangerous.
It's deadly.
It's deadly. It was
agree.
never meant to be like a full product that you digest information. It was always to be an accessory, not the prime of your daily life.
Yeah.
Right. That's the biggest thing in general. But I think if we get LeVar Burton's message back in the world, reading is fundamental, and that's what iShook wants to do. I don't know if we can use that trademark, but hopefully we'll try to get that some kind of thing out there that reading is fundamental. And then if we get that to the communities, I think we'll be able to revitalize the comic industry and all books in general, because I think books are not being read by the young youth anymore.
No.
But the entrepreneur side of things, almost every entrepreneur says you need to read at least 5 books a month. They're literally saying this if you want to succeed. So you do have this new wave of people trying to get into this, type of lifestyle. You see Patrick Bet-David say, the Grant Cardone is saying this. What's his name? Tim Robbins is saying this. Literally, I haven't heard any entrepreneur, Mark Cuban. There's not one entrepreneur that doesn't say read a book, at least a book a week. I haven't seen one person say that.
Benny, I think you just need to start getting all of these books in airports.
Oh, by the way, the airports sell a lot.
Yeah,
I am shocked when I go to the airport why there are no comic books there.
that's it. People are
I'm
flying.
so upset about that, by the way.
Me too.
I don't know. Like you have so many books over there, magazines over there.
You got
Like you go to
hours to go.
7-Eleven now, there's no magazines there anymore. You can't buy magazines anymore.
Spinner
Right.
rack. Need the spinner rack.
Right. Well, they don't have it. I mean, I go to my 7-Eleven, there's nothing there.
You
Like I
can
can't
supply
buy
them with
National
one.
Geographic. They used to have it, but they don't have it anymore.
And movie theaters. We need to get books into.
Yeah, but they're not
They've
gonna
been
do it.
talking about that for 30 years.
They're not gonna.
Well, people talk about it, but they
Right.
haven't really done anything. So why has it not happened?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's bad business. Business, if it was good business, it would work. I gotta jump. I gotta eat dinner, Benny.
All right.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm coming out, guys. I'm sorry. I didn't eat either, by the way.
Okay,
I'm
all
also.
right.
Anyway, guys,
Appreciate
let's
all of
close it
y'all.
out.
Thank
Thank you, everybody, for coming. We're gonna put all the socials, all the promotions in the bottom of the description on YouTube and all other channels. Again, let's make this happen again. This is, I think, very educational for everybody. Thank you again for joining iShook, guys, and everybody
all y'all.
subscribe to our channels and everyone else's channel under the YouTube description. Thank you, guys. Be well.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Happy
Merry
Hanukkah.
Christmas.
Yes, Merry
guys.
Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. May God bless everybody, and we should always succeed in every endeavor
God
we
bless
take.
you.
May God bless.
Always.